pleased to have at this table Chris Lemmon, an actor, a musician. Yes, the kid from Jack Lemmon who won 2 Academy Awards.
He did indeed, yes.
Let's talk about a book you wrote about your dad, why you did it, and then we'll lead up to the stage play that you are now doing. You wrote a book called A Twist of Lemmon.
Twist of Lemmon, yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I adored him. He was not just my father. He really was my very best friend, and we had so many wonderful experiences together. And after he left me, there was a great aloneness inside of me that I'd never really experienced before. And in a search for catharsis, I started writing down my memories of the adventures that we shared together.
What was the first memory? Do you remember?
I believe the first one I wrote about was the first time that we started to bond back together. We were father
because
and
there
son.
were issues.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, there is. I mean, he loved me too, but the career came first, and there was divorce. There was a
when
lot
you were
of
3,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, 3 years old.
He divorces. Your mom remarries. He remarries.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
What was that childhood like in Hollywood? Is that where you grew up?
No, actually, though I was a part of Hollywood, and during its golden age too, which I reflect as much as I can, not just in the book, but also in the show. But we'll get to that. It was, yeah. I lived on Santa Monica Beach as a kid, during the '60s, so it was like Camelot.
I was going to say, most people would say, "Oh, you're kidding! How wonderful!"
It was really a magical place. It was, it was Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello and Beach Blanket Bingo, and I tell the story of my neighbor Marilyn Monroe entertaining.
I'm sorry. Let's say that one more time.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually do Marilyn in the show.
Give me a
or should I say my father does Marilyn, because the whole show is done in my father's voice.
Which you change. We're skipping all around.
We are. We'll back up.
We'll get
but
back
I
to it.
digress. Yeah.
But Marilyn Monroe is your neighbor in California. What is that like? And you're how old when she's your neighbor?
11. So how do I know?
She's
you don't
just
know.
the lady next door.
It's like the one question I was always asked: what's it like to be Jack Lemmon's son? I can't answer it. I have no basis for comparison.
Did that get old?
I don't know that it necessarily got old, but it took me a lifetime to figure out the answer, and that answer is, of course, this show.
The show comes from the book. You write the book. The show starts out how? How do you get the idea to say, okay, I've written this book, A Twist of Lemmon. Now I'm going to take it to the stage.
Yeah, well, that's what I originally did. The show's gone through a lot of iterations and a lot of growth over the course of its year and a half or so. Originally, it was the book tour after the book and the impact that had on people and their reactions to me. Then that became what I would, for lack of a better term, a performance event. It was basically the book, me on stage doing the book in my voice. But I realized there was no way it could be a piece of theater unless I was playing a character. And that's when, of course, the simplest answer of all came to me. I had to be my father. It had to be done in the voice of my father. So
how do you do that? Because when you're on stage...
How do I do Jack? Jack, he sort of channels on through.
That's pretty good. And you can do that just on call. When you're on stage and you are, and just looking at you, you look just like your dad, and we'll get to that picture in a second. When you are doing your dad in his voice, are you completely there? I mean, where do you go for 85 minutes when you're doing your dad on stage?
That's interesting. Nobody's ever really hit me with that one before, and I don't know that I have an answer. It's sort of a channeling thing, so I'm still there, but I'm off. There is, you see, this is the one-person format. It's a one-person show with music, the most perilous form of theater. There are no safety nets in the one-person show.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. And challenging and fun and all that stuff too, and fascinating. But the thing that is different about this form of, and it is performance. It's a very strictly scripted piece. There's no ad lib. It's not like a cabaret number. It's not me, sort of telling stories and joking with the audience. This is a piece of theater and a 42-page monologue. Every word exactly the same, but no two shows ever the same because of the audience. I'm being a Lemmon. Off I go. But you know,
So
we'll do a
are
half hour
you-
on hello, so I'm just warning you on that.
Are you exhausted at the end of 85
Yeah, it's
minutes?
it's very demanding physically as well as mentally. I mean, the mental aerobics of you know, just doing, you know, that much material and 10 songs. I do 12 or 13 performances of my father's from his various movies, sometimes playing more than one
He did
character
more than
at a
60
time.
movies, right?
Yes, he
So,
did. Yeah.
You are a terrific musician. Music brought you and your dad
Yes.
back together. What ripped you apart? Was it divorce? Was it Hollywood? What was that?
It was all of those, and you know, and remarriage, and you know, you know,
And your mom
as my
married Cliff
father's.
Robertson,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So
And then
he
she
was a
said,
big
then they
star.
got divorced, and she said that's enough of Hollywood, and married Bud McDougal in Miami, Florida, who was a Culligan soft water salesman. So, you know, it's, but I try not to say this is why, that's why. I don't think that's good writing. I think good writing is really the kind of writing that causes you to ask those questions. You hear what I have to say, and then you go, why do you think that is? Why did they get ripped apart? What are these? I refer to the voices in my father's ear that caused a tidal force of separation. And you know, I want you to say, well, what are these voices? I think it was this, I think it was that. And from what I've been told and from what reviewers have said about the show, I think I've been successful. And it's enormously rewarding for me. Not only am I finally, after this many years, able to bring my music in and my acting in and weave them together, I think I've created something now that I can do, that I really feel I can look at and say, I did that. And
How long are you going to do this? How many years are you going to do it?
as
And
many as they let me.
Really?
I'm just absolutely having a ball, and I just think it's the most worthwhile thing I've ever been involved with as an artist, and in a lot of ways as a person too.
Are you able to look at Jack Lemmon, the guy, the movie star, the father, and figure out who he really was?
Well, it's hard because he was a very mercurial fellow, and he was one of those guys who was an actor before, and he admits it on stage. I, as him, admitted on stage that sometimes the career came first. Most of the time, the career came first.
Hurtful to you as a kid?
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, of course it is. I can't be a responsible storyteller and not show all the bumps in the road, too. That being said, this was the most emotionally generous man, the classiest guy, the genuinely nicest guy. He raised the bar wherever he went. I've tried so hard as a human being to emulate that, and it is my duty to emulate that as the narrator in this story.
Private conversations with your dad when things were really good. Did you get to know who he really was away from Hollywood, you know, after the movies? And he died of cancer, correct?
Yes, he did.
We're looking at some pictures right now of you and your dad. Tell me where this is. And
That
what
was
it
a
is.
it was a screen test for, I believe, some kind of World War I story, and that was the day of the screen test, and he brought me out with him to you know, to sit in the SOP with Camel, and then they flew it around. You know, obviously he didn't fly it, the pilot did, and I got a chance to see it, and it was out in the out in Oceanside, California, before it became, you know, solid houses, and it was back a, you know, beautiful wilderness area.
So you would see him as a little boy in glimpses, and then there would be long periods where you didn't see him?
We were very close, and after the divorce, which he always enormously regretted, I tell the story of him, actually, the true story, that when he won for Best Supporting Actor for Mr. Roberts, he brought my mother to the Academy Awards, and they swept him off backstage, and it was so overwhelming for him, he forgot her and left her in her seat, and that was the reason that they divorced.
That doesn't seem like a reason for divorce.
Well, he realized it was the, not the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the wrong way to say it. It was kind of the sum of a lot of career came first. Career came first, and my mother, who was a wonderful actress, actually was nominated for an Emmy for a performance on Dr. Kildare. Remember that one?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
But it was. I think it was a lot of that kind of, you know, whenever you tried to get close to Pop, it was, hello, operator, we got a bad connection.
Didn't want to deal with really close stuff.
No, he had a big fear of vulnerability. And, you know, that's why he loved acting so much, because there was no surprises. You knew what was coming next. What's the famous George Burns line? Acting's all about honesty. If you can fake that, you got it made. It's a great line.
Was it to cover up lots of stuff in his childhood? What? I mean,
oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really very fascinating. And that's a lot of the stuff that is in the play without being said. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that 85 minutes, I want the audience to go, you know, I think he did this, and I think he did that.
So you want discussion?
I want that.
Lots of
I
discussion.
want them to go out for a cup of coffee afterwards and really chew it over.
Do they get to talk to you after?
Of course, I love talking to the audience. I do Q&A all the time, which is a ball, and I think the audience likes it too. They keep me. The last one I did, they kept me there as long as the show. They didn't want to let me go, so I'm,
well,
you know,
that feels good,
it's
Chris.
a wonderful feeling. You know, the show has it.
Look at this. Okay, I did this in my own little way. I had to put you side by side. You're told this every day. The resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah, yeah.
Dad looking very suave in that outfit.
Yeah.
And Chris looking equally as suave.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's amazing how much you look alike, and I am sure the audience, when they're watching you, does channel your dad, and they're loving that because they can harken back to that time.
Yeah, I was one reviewer I was saying earlier. I don't know if I'm being redundant, but said when I see Chris up there, I don't think it's Chris doing Jack. I think it's Jack doing Chris.
What a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
for
and
you.
another one also said it's hard to tell the difference. We don't, and I'm a taller guy than he is.
How tall was he?
He was 5'10", well, he called himself 6 feet, but he was. I think.
Well, that's Hollywood,
you know,
right?
5'8" would be a little strict, but we'll give him 5'10". How's that?
There was another picture that we showed, I think, just for a second. It's with you and Fred Astaire at the desk there.
Yeah, that's
Tell me about
Notorious
this.
Landlady.
Okay, and you were hanging out on the set?
Yeah. Yeah, there I am, and of course I'm being a Lemmon. I'm shaking hands with one of the greatest geniuses that ever donned the stage, and cutting a joke to Pop. You know, who looks like he's about to backhand me if I.
What kind of dad are you?
Well, it was a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, I was scared to death that my kids would have, you know. So I wanted to be there for them 24/7, and I moved here to Connecticut for that very reason.
Why Connecticut? What?
I wanted to put them through the Glastonbury public school system. I have a great admiration for that school system and for that town.
How did you know about Glastonbury?
My wife is from Glastonbury.
I see. Okay.
And in visiting it, I knew this is where I wanted to move, and had a little series I was doing with Terry Hulk Hogan down in Florida. It was kind of my cash out, and I was just going to live here and have fun. And so, you know, I did the series for a little while, but once it was over, I thought, you know, I can't go back. I've got to stay, and it's going to be career suicide, and I don't care, because you only get one shot with kids. And I remember thinking so much when I was young, I was staring at that empty chair at the dinner table, the one where the father goes, as I say in the book. I didn't want that for my 3 kids, and I am so proud to say that I've been with them, you know, every day since they were born. As a matter of fact, we all go off on a family reunion with our extended family tomorrow morning. And how's this for a coincidence? The place that we picked out to go for the family reunion, I end up doing a show there.
Who
Who'da
knew,
thunk?
right?
Who'da thunk?
When you look back on your life, you could have chosen, because of who your dad was, to stay in Hollywood, and you did a ton of acting, all of that. But is it hard not to kind of go back there and do some of that, or you're real happy with this choice?
Oh, I'm ecstatic with this choice. I have 3 keepers. I got 3 beautiful kids. They all go to school right here in the area. They're you know, my daughter's studying for her master's right now. They're very talented. They're good kids. They've got all the right things going on for them in life, and there's the greatest reward of all. I mean, you know, when you talk about something you could look at and say, I did that. Forget about showbiz. Forget about professional. I mean, it's nice to have that in professional too, but that's the ultimate, and it had to be for me.
When I sit in the audience and watch you on stage, what will I see over the course of the 85 minutes?
Well, you'll see me come out and give my mission statement. You know, what was it like to be Jack Lemmon's son? What is it like to follow in the footsteps of a giant, especially when he's your dad? And then I become him. The audience has told me a number of times, and just this wild transition that I do. It's, you know, I become him.
Do you kind of just give it one of these and just come out as him?
No, actually, I'm at the piano when I'm doing this, because I stated in the very beginning that he was, you know, one of the most beloved actors in the world. But what a number of people didn't know, however, is that he played the piano really very well. And as I'm playing the piano, I sort of finish up the mission statement and I become him. And then what you get is basically the journey of his life, from the moment he was born in the elevator of the Newton Wellesley Hospital. Yes, his mother, my grandmother, who called herself Gigi, short for gorgeous grandma.
Love that.
Was at a hot poker game when her water broke and she refused to get up from the table.
So the audience is laughing and crying with you at the same time.
Well,
and hearing you play the music.
Now you hit it on the head. That's the main context of Jack Lemmon in this show, is the fact that he never understood why there had to be the differentiation between comedy and drama. His greatest hero, Jean-Louis Barrault, the French actor, director, and mime, that was what he was able to do. As Pop says in the show, he could make you laugh and then break your heart all at the same time. And I knew when I could do that, that's when I could call myself an actor.
That's pretty good.
That's what the whole thing's all about. And that's what I must, as a storyteller, during the course of this story, do. I must make you laugh and make you cry at the same time.
Who was his best friend? And I know the answer to this.
Walter Matthau.
Why?
Just because he was the only person on the face of the earth who could actually make him laugh. They were the only people who could make each other laugh, and they adored each other from the second they met. As Pop says, it was like meeting the brother I always wanted but never got.
And that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Do you do some women on stage?
I do Marilyn.
All right.
Yeah, it's, let's see. I don't care how rich he is, as long as he has his own yacht, and his own private railroad car, and his own toothpaste.
And notice the eyes there. You're doing something with the eyes.
Yeah, well.
Is that what she did?
Yeah, she
was your neighbor. You would know,
a story.
right?
It's a story I tell, and God bless her. She was a wonderful and a very intelligent woman too, but she obviously had issues, and you know, one of them was, you know, and a couple of pills, and so it was difficult to do Some Like It Hot, and there was times where she'd have to, as Pop says, she had to go 10, 20 takes just to get a few words out. Billy Wilder, one of Hollywood's greatest directors, he got so frustrated with her, he actually wrote her lines out on a chalkboard and held them up for her to read. Yeah, there's scenes in that movie where you see Marilyn's eyes darting back and forth. That's not her acting. It's her trying to read the words.
I mean, that's tragic. I shouldn't be.
True story.
I shouldn't be laughing.
It's a true story. It's not true. You know what it is? It is. It's what it is. It's what she was. She was this enormous, and will always remain, enormous figure. You know, more so, I think, than any of them. She achieved ultimate stardom, and it was too much to take. You know, she just, as Pop says, she just didn't know what to do with it. You know, this business. And, you know, she was a good girl who just got lost. This business, hey, it'll do it to you.
What's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
Would probably be golfing advice, which
Really?
which I didn't listen to, because one of the other aspects of the show that is stated right in the very beginning is that he tried to make the cut at the Pebble Beach golf tournament for 35 stinking years. I'm trying to make this frigging cut and nothing, no, not once. But the kid, this hot shot, his very first year there, he makes the cut. The kid has been nothing but trouble from the start.
Did he really do that around the house?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
His stammer. His brain was moving so fast that his mouth couldn't keep up with it, and it was quite an agile mouth, may I say. You know, the man was very, very lucid and enunciated beautifully, as most actors must. But that brain just wouldn't stop. And the next, because well, forget it.
And that made him him.
Yeah.
The golden age of Hollywood, as opposed to now. Talk to me about this.
It breaks my heart to go back to L.A. It's hard for me to do. Nothing against L.A. It breaks my heart to be away from it as well. I was just out at the Broad for a lovely run in Santa Monica, and all my buddies came by. Andy Garcia, who's
It's a different place.
just my best buddy, and
it really changed. It's changed so much. A lot of places have, but LA, maybe it's because I was there during that golden age of Camelot, you know, during that beach blanket era, you know, with Frankie and Annette, and Marilyn coming to the bonfires while the Grunion Run, you know, under a full moon, and with ukuleles and singing songs. And it was just such a different time, you know. What were they called? Hop socks? Or the girls would bring you your thing, you know, at the drive-ins on roller skates and put it on the side of your car, on the window of your car with the malteds, you know, Bob's Big Boy and stuff. It was just a whole other time. I used to ride my bike to school down the Pacific Coast Highway to the 5th and 6th grade. Remember the Stingray bicycles with the banana seats?
It's like yesterday.
Yeah. I used to ride it down the Pacific Coast Highway, up the Pacific Coast Highway ramp and across to Carl Thorpe School in Santa Monica. Try doing that these days, you know. Marilyn, I tell the story about you know, coming out one day and seeing this helicopter over Marilyn's house, and I sneak in and I see this pretty blonde lady, you know, frolicking in the pool with a very distinguished looking gentleman. And of course, as it turns out, the pretty blonde lady is Marilyn, and the distinguished looking gentleman, well, you know. Ask not what your country can do for you. True story.
You should have started writing the book then.
True story. True story. Try and get away with that now.
I know, right?
Whole different age.
If you had to sum up your dad, you know, Hollywood had him. You guys fended for yourself for a while until you came back together to him. If you had to sum up Jack Lemmon, who was he?
He was my very best friend. That's it. I mean, he was a wonderful man. He was a human leprechaun. He was so delightful to be around. He placed everybody above himself, and he was humble. He was caring. He was a good man. But there were the shortcomings too. I speak about his alcoholism, his publicly admitted in one of the most courageous moves, right on the Actors Studio in front of James Lipton, out of the blue. I mean, if you watch the clip, you see James Lipton literally picking his chin up off the floor after my father admits it. And the courage that it took for him to do that, we talk about that in the play as well. We talk about it all. All the bumps in the road have to be there. But every time he faced any of those bumps, and there were plenty, he did it with great dignity. And again, I just hope I try to emulate that and try to raise the bar like he does. And it is my duty to do so in the show as well.
Chris Lemmon, thank you so much for coming on.
Lovely to be here, Ann. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome.
Pursuit, spend one this in. Who's this girl? Spending all night kissing, and if one was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Things keep locked in the grocery store of my mind. Just to save time, skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know that you need me?